Hello and welcome to another video. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Today we're going to talk about dazzling Bitcoin price run sparks forecast for fresh 2019 highs. So essentially the price action that's been happening with Bitcoin over the last couple of months and the entire cryptocurrency market as a whole has been kind of flatlining. We've seen the entire cryptocurrency market not making dramatic moves up or down. In fact, it's kind of been hovering around, the 9,500 price range to about 10,500, 11,000. We saw a couple of peaks around 14,000 and 12,000, but in the last month, it seems to have consolidated and has been running really around the high 9,000s and the low 10,000s. So hopefully we'll see it break out and do some significant volume and numbers. But before we get into this, let me tell you that I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. This is my opinion. I am not smarter than you. You are smarter than you realize. Do not trust what I say. Do your own research. So, dazzling Bitcoin price run sparks forecasts for fresh 2019 highs. Since September 2nd, and that's kind of a cool graphic with the $100 bills and then a Bitcoin laying on top of it. Since September 2nd, 2019, within 4 days, Bitcoin's price has recovered from 9,500 to 10,700, rising well above 10% against the US dollar. So that was a 10% gain in those just couple of days. This is a chart of the Bitcoin price, and as I mentioned earlier, you can see that since August 31st until September 6th, Bitcoin has kind of been doing a sideways number. It hasn't been going up much. It hasn't been going down much. It's kind of been holding a fairly stable price. Now, the potential yearly high by the year's end for Bitcoin is significant. This author is expecting a significant breakout. And he was quoting another person. In fact, Josh Rhaegar, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. Forgive me if I know I've already butchered it. So I ask for forgiveness on that. But anyway, Josh has said, this current structure reminds me of 2015, 2016, when Bitcoin did a 2.5x from the bottom, followed by 6 months of sideways. Then out of nowhere, almost a 2x increase in price, as Bitcoin slowly trended up to new highs. One thing for sure, I don't want to see that $9,000 support break. So really, if you look back at history around the 2015-2016 price, this is the beginning of the last blast to $20,000. Bitcoin's most recent all-time high was a price point of $20,000. But it came all the way from a low of $1,000 up to $20,000. And so his point is that in early 2015, 2016, Bitcoin saw an increase of about 2.5x. Well, if you've been following Bitcoin, you also realize that, hey, Bitcoin hit its low price in December of 2018. The last December, it was trading at $3,200. And since then, it's had almost a 3x increase to 9,000 and up to as high as 14,000. And so Bitcoin did a similar 2x, 3x increase. And then it's from the bottom followed by a 6 months of sideways. Now, we have not been going sideways for 6 months. Bitcoin has been going sideways for about 2 or 3 months, but it's a similar pattern. Hopefully, we don't have to wait for Bitcoin to continue to go sideways for 6 months before we see a breakout of significance. I think we're going to see it a little bit sooner, but that's mostly because of the different natural catalysts that are coming up in the next few weeks. And then he went on to say that out of nowhere, we saw almost a double in price in Bitcoin as it slowly trended towards an all-time high of $20,000. Now, he's mentioning that he doesn't want to see it break the $9,000 support. He doesn't want to see it go back down below the 9,000 because that kind of breaks the trend that he's quoting from 2015, 2016. And I don't want to see it to break below the $9,000 price range either, because I see his point. I think that might be a bad sign for Bitcoin. Now, do I think that that's likely to happen? This is, again, my opinion. This is not financial advice. In my opinion, I think it's unlikely, but the reason why I think it's unlikely is because of the catalysts that exist and are in our near future, should be happening in the next few weeks, and so on. And so traders anticipate the launch of trading venues such as Bakkt and investment vehicles and the likes of VanEck Limited ETF to act as contributing factors to the next upside movement of Bitcoin. Now, the Bakkt exchange, just a couple of days ago, Bakkt started warehousing cryptocurrency, Bitcoin in particular. And then the Bakkt exchange, just in case, I know there's a few people out there listening that are not familiar with Bakkt. The Bakkt exchange is a joint venture between the company that owns the New York Stock Exchange, Starbucks, and Microsoft. The three companies, the owner of the New York Stock Exchange, Starbucks, and Microsoft, all three of those companies teamed up to build the Bakkt exchange. They invested $400 million, and they've been working on it for 4 years. That exchange is expected to go live in a couple of weeks on September 23rd, 2019. And when that exchange goes live, there's a lot of people expecting the Bakkt exchange to contribute to the upside movement of Bitcoin. I'm one of those people. I fully expect that the Bakkt exchange is going to see an influx of a significant amount of money as institutional investors start utilizing the Bakkt exchange in order to purchase Bitcoin. So I want to ask you to think about that for a minute. The New York Stock Exchange is a very smart company, and they don't spend hundreds of millions of dollars unless they feel and they've done a significant amount of research and planning to make sure that that investment is a smart investment. Microsoft and Starbucks are similar companies. They're not going to invest hundreds of millions of dollars and spend 4 years of software development and 4 years of hard work building something that is going to just get thrown away, or building something that ends up being a flop, or building something that doesn't work well. And so because of the 4 years, the $400 million, and all of the effort that's gone into creating the Bakkt exchange, and then also the relationships that the New York Stock Exchange has with institutional investors, the reputation of the New York Stock Exchange as they reach out to all of these different people and say, hey, look, you'll be able to purchase cryptocurrency, you'll be able to purchase Bitcoin, you'll be able to add that to your portfolios, you'll be able to take advantage of some of these significant gains where, as Pantera Capital has mentioned, in the last 8 years, the compound interest rate of Bitcoin has been 235%. Now, any company, any institution, any investor that thinks that 235% compound annual interest over the last 8 years is not noteworthy, is not somebody that I think is a wise investor. When you're talking about 235% compound annual interest over the last 8 years, that's what Bitcoin has done. That is significant. That's what got the intention. That's why the New York Stock Exchange said, "Whoa, we need to get a piece of that pie." And that's why they invested hundreds of millions of dollars to introduce the Bakkt exchange, and Bakkt is about to go live. So if I thought there was a better time to buy cryptocurrency, I would think that today would be one of those great opportunities. Now, I want to repeat, I said this at the beginning, I'm going to say it again. This is not financial advice. I'm expressing my opinion to you. And if my opinion sounds interesting, hey, don't trust what I'm saying. Go and do your own research. Don't trust me. Research it out for yourself and make a decision if this is the right thing to do for you. Because, hey, if you look at cryptocurrency, it's had times where it had 10x increases. In other words, $1,000 produced $10,000, or $1,000 produced $32,000, or $1,000 even produced $90,000. If you look at some of my other videos, you'll see that in 3-year periods, on different occasions, $1,000 into Bitcoin would have produced $10,000, $8,000, $32,000, $45,000, and $86,000, with the maximum 3-year period being $2.6 million. And so I think this thing has potential. Time will tell. It'll take a few years for all of this to play out, but next year this time, 2 years down the road, 5 years down the road, we'll look back. It'll be in the history books at that point, and we'll know whether or not that this was an excellent time to get involved with Bitcoin. Although Bakkt would merely demonstrate the real world demand of investors in the market, and it could intensify the downside movement of the asset as well. Investors expect Bakkt to bring more liquidity to the market, facilitating more demand from a broader market of investors. So when they talk about more liquidity to the market, really what they're saying is that there'll be a larger volume of Bitcoin being traded back and forth from party A to party B. And when you look at the liquidity of the Bitcoin market right now, on average, there's $15 billion traded from party A to party B on a daily basis, with $15 billion moving from one group to another group. Now, this is not one single individual, but that's the cumulative amount traded from everybody that bought and sold Bitcoin in the last 24 hours. But that's a huge dollar amount. And if you go out to yahoofinance.com or CoinMarketCap or any of these other places and take a look for yourself, you'll find that Bitcoin has been doing a volume of around 10 billion, 15 billion, 20 billion traded on a daily basis for a really long time. And so for them to say that Bakkt is going to increase that liquidity, that means that instead of 15 billion traded, that number will go up. And then when they talk about facilitating more demand from a broader market of investors, that's a complex way of saying that institutions are going to start buying and selling cryptocurrency. And that's exactly what the Bakkt exchange is counting on. It was not built for retail investors. It was built for institutional investors. Now, retail investors, my expectation is that retail investors are going to be able to take advantage of the Bakkt exchange through their typical brokerage accounts, the same way that they trade on the New York Stock Exchange by going to a Charles Schwab account or TD Ameritrade or some other E-Trade, some other broker. And that'll probably be the same way that regular retail investors will be able to trade in the futures that Bakkt is going to be offering. So anyway, I've said enough for this video. I want to ask you, how can I be of service to you? If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. In the meantime, like, subscribe, and hodl. Thank you, and I hope you have a great day.